Today's lesson is all about ancient agriculture and how using irrigation changed how people around the world lived and how they became farmers. From ancient Mesopotamia to modern day California, agriculture has depended on moving water from lakes and rivers to where it is needed for crops. Today we will learn about the history of irrigation and how it changed the way we live today. We will study our modern water delivery systems and how we move water to our crops, and we will understand how important it is to take care of our water supply. We have some pretty big vocab words to learn today. If you want, pause the screen and write these words in your garden journals with your own definitions. Let's repeat the words out loud together. The first word is agriculture. Let's break it down. Agra means farming, culture means how to grow. So the definition of agriculture is the practice of growing crops or raising animals for food, or in other words, farming. Our next word is irrigation. You've probably seen it at home or at school. It's the sprinklers and the drippers that water the grass and the plants. Next we have aqueduct. Aqueduct is another compound word. Aqua means water and duct means a pipe or waterway. It is a man-made channel for moving water to where it is needed. The last word is the name of a place or a noun. Say, Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is an ancient region located between the Tigris and Euphrates River. Ancient people around the world figured out how to move and apply water to crops, allowing them to farm instead of hunting and gathering food. In what is now called the Middle East, Mesopotamia was a strip of fertile land located between two great rivers. Thousands of years ago, people farmed there for the first time in history and used aqueducts for irrigating crops. Today, the Central Valley Project is one of the largest water delivery systems in the world, bringing water from Northern California to the dry South. Next, your garden teacher will walk you through an activity and then show you what's been happening in your own school garden.
So in our lesson today for Drought Hardy Garden, we talked about some ways of ancient agriculture and the ways that water has been used for agriculture since it was first invented. But today, we're going to look on a small scale of our garden at some of the modern ways that we use irrigation. And so I'm going to show you our irrigation system and explain a little bit how it works. We're so lucky we have this modern system now. Our irrigation system starts with this controller. So this control center here opens up, and this is how I can make sure that everything is getting the water it needs. So I can schedule the days and the times that the water turns on automatically. This is amazing. I don't have to come out here every single day and water every single plant. This amazing technology does it for me. And you can see that there's lots of different options here. I won't go through all of them, but it's a pretty cool system. And let's see what it does out in the garden. We're going to check out the orchard system first. So, down here, you can see this line is wrapped around the base of our tree. And where's that coming from? There's a main line buried, and that main line goes next to all the trees here in this row. So this main line feeds 4 different trees, and this hose sticks off of it, and this is what has little tiny holes where the water drips out of. And that makes sure that the tree gets water all around its roots. Look at these healthy garden beds. They have so much growing in them. And that is all due to the water that comes automatically. This is a similar system to the trees. It has this same line with the little tiny holes in it. And there's one hole every 6 inches. Do you see that wet spot right around the plant? The drip system is awesome because if I plant something right next to where that hole is, I know that it is going to get water right where it needs to be. So that way I don't waste water either. There's dry soil here But that's okay because there's not a plant there. And that actually helps me keep the weeds away as well, because there isn't water for weeds to grow in between the plants. There's only water right to our plants, and that way I don't waste water and I don't give water to the weeds. And it's a great system. What about over here? These are my root vegetables, and unlike the lettuce that I showed you, these don't grow spaced out. So I couldn't really put them on a drip line because there would only be water every 6 inches and they're too close together for that. So what I have set up over here are these little sprinklers. And these, just like the sprinklers, on a lawn, they spray out over a larger area. So this whole area gets water from these little sprinklers, and that way I can plant really close together and make sure that everything gets water. But as you can see, there's some weeds growing in here, so that's the one downside of using a sprinkler system. So here I am sitting with some of these broccoli plants, and I'm thinking, what would I do if I didn't have this system? Every time I've gardened, have had an automatic system for me. And so I'm thinking about what ancient people must have done. Well, we know that water travels downhill, right, because of gravity. And so I think what they might have done is dug small channels and made sure that those channels were slightly at an angle so the water would travel downhill. And what they could do is, instead of having lines like we do that release water, they would have a small channel next to their crops, and they could pour at one end a bunch of water that they had carried from the river, and it would travel down the channel and water all the plants. That is a pretty smart way to do it if you don't have a modern system, and that is what they could do in Mesopotamia. The other thing I think about when I see our irrigation system is, where does all this water come from? Yeah, I know it comes from the city water, but where really does it come from? Where does it start? Where is it raining that we are getting all this water? Because it doesn't rain much here. Well, the truth is, a lot of our water comes in a giant aqueduct all the way from Northern California. It's much, much rainier up there. It's more of a forest environment, and they have many lakes and reservoirs, which are man-made lakes to capture water for our use. And that water travels in giant man-made aqueducts all the way down here to the Central Coast where we are, because we have a dry climate and we do not have enough water to support our population here. So I think it's pretty cool that we're watering our plants here when it rained all the way up there. And that's why we need to conserve our water too, right? We don't want to use more water than we need. And like I pointed out, the drip system is a great way to save water and give water just to the plants right where they need it. Thank you everyone for checking out the irrigation with me. I hope you learn more about where our water comes from and how I try and use water wisely here in the garden, since we live in a dry climate. And I will see you next time for another lesson here in the Virginia Peterson Garden.